Computer.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Today, we're presenting our final roadmap for UFOTech. My name is Josie, and alongside my colleagues, Aiden, Eden, and Ryan, we'll be sharing a data-driven framework grounded in global research and strategic analysis. Next slide, please. Before diving into the details, let me just outline what we'll cover today. So first, we'll start with the evaluation criteria that we used and provide a recap of the top 4 countries that stood out in our analysis. Next, we'll look at how UFO tech can strengthen its value proposition. From there, we'll transition into UFO tech's potential mode of entry. Finally, we'll share the organizational and operational plan, a 5-year financial forecast, risk management, and clear timeline for implementation. This roadmap is designed to be both actionable and aligned with UFO Tech's long-term strategic goals. To build an evidence-based expansion strategy, we began by developing a robust evaluation model. This criteria you see here spans with 4 major categories: the market infrastructure and readiness, the social and cultural adaptability, strategic and partnership potential, and finally, the risk and limitations. This framework allowed us to evaluate all countries using the same standardized approach, ensuring fairness and analytical consistency. Next slide, please. After defining the criteria, we applied a weighted scoring model to evaluate all 14 countries equally. And in doing so, we created a data-driven ranking that clearly showed which markets represent the highest strategic potential for UFO tech's expansion. This ensures our recommendations are both analytically rigorous and aligned with UFO tech's mission. And now I'll hand it over to Eden to share additional insights.
Awesome. So on this slide, we essentially have the breakdown of the 14 countries weighted since Josie has already covered what the weighted scoring model was based on. Um, so each country's total weighted scores reflects how it performed relative to the other 13 countries. Um, what this ranking reveals is a clear separation between high readiness market, which was led strongly by Singapore, followed by the United Arab Emirates, South Korea, and Taiwan. At the lower end of the ranking, countries like Brazil and Mexico scored lower due to infrastructure gaps, regulatory risk, and higher competitive saturation. The purpose of this slide is just to show the full landscape and the comparative positioning of each market based purely on the data that we gathered. Followed, we have the just focus on the top 4 countries. So we have Singapore, the UAE, South Korea, and Taiwan. Um, Here we can break down exactly why these markets rose to the top by showing their weighted scores across every evaluation factor. Since each market was assessed on the same categories and normalized across the entire 14 country data set, these scores make it clear why each country's strengths come from. For example, Singapore scores consistently high across technological infrastructure, ease of doing business, innovation openness, and partnership potential. The UAE performs strongly in infrastructure and accessibility, but trails lightly in innovation openness. South Korea and Taiwan also show strong balance across key indicators. So just in essence, covering this 4. Next, we have the how the United States would perform using the same weighting scoring structure as the global markets. We included the US intentionally, not as an expansion target, but as a benchmark to give UFO Tech a familiar reference point, since the company already understands the US government environment. Applying the same formulas allows us to see how the foreign markets compare to the context of UFO Tech's knows well. Based on its score of 0.611, the US would fall between Singapore and the second ranked country, the UAE, which validates the model by placing a mature, innovation driven market exactly where we would expect it to land. Including the US helps the team interpret the numbers with more clarity and gives meaningful context to the overall ranking. So from now, I'll go ahead and pass this on to Ryan.
Thank you, Eden. Fantastic. We're going to recap market entry strategy segments. I'm going to be brief with all these as we've gone over this in a previous presentation. We have business to business models and we have business to consumer models and segments. Hotel venues, government civil departments, trade fairs, university and campuses, company training and corporate HR, resources and gatherings. It's all going to be business to business. It's going to vary depending on the actual locale, but overall it's going to be a relative similar structure throughout. Business to consumer is going to be direct for professionals. Mass making is social, lifestyle, communities, coffee clubs, things like that with social and book clubs, cafes, all that stuff. Again, country to country specific, but overall 30,000 foot of view, a lot of similarities between all those. Next slide, please. Recap market entry strategy for phase 1 through 4. It's going to cover all the 4 top countries. I'm going to be succinct with this. Singapore overall scored very high in a global collaborative potential in that ranking. A lot of outside companies and corporations can come in, do good business, and that's a reason for this as a pilot market launch. Primary objective was to determine market fit and establish brand credibility. Everything from there down is to help with market fit and establish brand credibility for phase 1. Next slide, please. Phase 2 for the UAE is extremely strong with its technological infrastructure, and that's what stood out a lot. Its primary objective was to engage with hospitality and event companies, align with Dubai World Trade Center, local influencer partnerships. Rental consignment models will be tested in this venue as well. We're going to leverage some foundations, and the expected benefit is going to be some revenue generated from rentals and government endorsement, which is going to help further trajectory and momentum. Next slide, please. Phase 3 is South Korea. South Korea is known for just being open to innovation. There's a very high score there. We're going to work on generating market share in the tech networking culture as well. Use local Korean ad advertisement, AI-driven meeting system for corporations is how we're going to advertise UFOTech for LG, Samsung, companies like that. And we're going to be doing other specific partnering with gaming, anime, K-pop conventions, working a little bit on that social side as well in phase 3. Next slide, please. Taiwan scored very high in the hospitality center, and we're going to work on that as well as integrating it into the community culture using the previous 3 phases momentum, collaborate again with major universities for student networking, align with specific projects and initiatives, and continue to position it as a future moving face-to-face networking platform. We're going to work on all that together and synthesize. We're going to see later on how this all integrates with launching in the US. And for that, I'm going to hand off to Aiden, who's going to discuss the US specific market entry strategy.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. For our U.S. market entry, we're going to be focusing on 2 main groups. On the left are the organizations we want to work with first, such as universities, hotels, and event venues, government-related groups, large events like trade fairs and corporate HR teams. These groups host a lot of events and need better ways to help people connect. So I think they're a great fit for what we offer. On the right are the individual users, young professionals, recent graduates, and people interested in lifestyle or networking events. They're already looking for ways to meet others, so our product naturally fits into their routines. These 2 groups give us a strong mix of stability from institutions and growth from everyday users. Next slide. So in phase 1, our goal is to build early trust and real results in the US. First, we'll start with pilot programs and universities. I was thinking schools like ASU or MIT host a lot of networking events, so they give us quick feedback and strong visibility. Next, we'll build partnerships with major hotels and event venues. These places host conferences and corporate gatherings every week. So getting our product into their spaces help us reach many different audiences. And finally, we run live demos at events. This lets people experience the product firsthand and gives us valuable feedback. But overall, phase 1 is about proving that the product works well in the US and getting it in front of the right people. Next slide. Alrighty. After phase 1, we move into wider expansion. We begin working with corporate HR teams to support employee training, onboarding, and internal networking. Companies are always trying to improve how people connect inside the workplace, so this is a strong opportunity. We also partner with community and nonprofit organizations that run events focused on outreach and engagement. Our tools help bring people together more efficiently. And finally, we expand into the large trade fairs and exhibitions where thousands of people attend. These events give us huge visibility and help us build more long-term partnerships. I would say phase two is really about scaling up and establishing ourselves across multiple industries. Next slide. Perfect. So this slide highlights the value we bring to our three main groups in the US. For universities, we help make students and alumni networking easier and more organized. Schools focused on innovation are great early partners. For corporate teams, nonprofits, and government groups, we improve how people connect at events like career fairs, HR programs, and national meetings. We help create smoother conversations and better engagement. And for event venues, we help organizers create memorable and efficient experiences for attendees. Our system is flexible, easy to use, and it fits naturally into different types of events. So overall, across all three groups, we make connecting with others simple, faster, and more meaningful. And I'll be moving it to Ryan to finish this out.
Actually, I'll take the next few slides. So what you'll see here is the total addressable market. So we're looking at a 330 billion global sales potential, largely concentrated in shows, conferences, and large events, which alone represent 320 billion. We also included structured segments such as the corporate cafeterias and university campuses. From a rental standpoint, we see a 465 million rental market. And to stay conservative, we've applied a 1% serviceable addressable market, resulting in an attainable 3.3 billion market. This ensures that our forecasts remain grounded while demonstrating the scale of opportunity ahead. Our primary costs are tied to operations, marketing, and partnership building. Each category directly supports a growth strategy, especially as we scale into new event spaces and institutional partnership. On the risk side, the main considerations include the market volatility, competitive dynamics, regulatory shifts, and by outlining these risks early, we position ourselves to build mitigation strategies into the model rather than reacting to them down the line. Next slide, please. Here we transition into the 5-year financial projection. This captures both the scalability of the model and the revenue potential as adoption grows. We begin with the installation units and rentals, where year 1, we're generating 2.5 million, year 2, bringing us to 6.5, year 3, increasing to 14 million, year 4, increasing to 24, and year 5, reaching 35 million. This forecast reflects the compound effect of market penetration, improved brand visibility, and continued traction in large venue environments. And now I'll hand it over to Ryan for the final segment.
Thank you, Josie. Along with the financial risk management plan, we have a logistical risk management plan as well. It involves regulatory risk, adoption, operational, and data privacy risk and management. These are all subdivided into specifics. A lot of these are going to change locale to locale and have different headwinds and tailwinds that we're going to have to navigate as we go through. But as more rollouts and sections are open and markets are penetrated, it's going to be more smooth. We're going to have things to look back on to use as a reference point and continue to steamroll and work on this momentum and generate everything we need positively and safely, doing it the right way. Final slide, please. This combined is a US and international timeline. So what that means is the top 4 countries are already picked internationally. We're not going to synthesize with the US market rollout. What that can look like is for the first half of year 1, Q1 and Q2, and is launching in Singapore, but also US university pilots. We're also introduce rental units to the UAE. The back half of year 1, Q3, and 4, we're going to try to convert these pilots into full accounts, generating some stability and accountability with them, getting feedback from them consistently, and helping generate the momentum we need, along with initiating partnerships in Korea and Taiwan. Truly into year 2, we're going to scale up in Asia and the UAE markets that we've already penetrated, and we're going to add 10 university customers globally. It doesn't have to be specific. Where we can get it, we'll work on. And these are baseline stats, again, trying to be fairly conservative with this estimate. More the better. 10 is a good starting point to aim for. Year 3 is potentially, based on metrics, a break-even point for the company, and that's a great success. Continue to increase penetration in governmental institutions across the board as well as the United States. Maybe start exploring service or software as a service model for UFOTech. Based on the information we've gathered in the previous 2 to 3 years, there's a lot of data mining that can be done with not just the carousel platform, but everything we're getting from that. You can kind of condense and consolidate that into a SaaS model. Year four is to continue expansion into the U.S. territory across our markets and looking at 250 plus global units as a floor and up from there if possible. Year five, just like Josie said, looking at exponential metrics, we can hope for 400 plus units and really the potential of software as a service first revenue model, potentially pivoting and using that as a future proof for UFO tech in general. So I just wanted to thank everybody for your time and please consider all this data and information moving forward. Thank you.